Welcome everyone. What you just heard was an example of using the Bebop Dominant Scale with enclosures. Today we're going to start to look at what enclosures are and how to begin playing them in conjunction with the Bebop Dominant Scale on your banjo. Let's get started. An enclosure is a chromatic device used to delay the arrival of a target note. Think of the target as being enclosed by parentheses. First, we're going to play the neighbor tones on either side of the target before we finally play the target. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to play the upper neighbor tone first, then the lower neighbor tone, and then the target. For this tutorial, the target is going to be the root and the fifth. If we enclose those two tones within the Bebop Dominant Scale, the scale retains its symmetrical nature. Chord tones fall on a downbeat, and there's a sense of forward drive. We can also enclose the flat seventh and the third, but those have special rules which we'll get to in the next episode. For now, we're just going to focus on the root and the fifth and keep it simple. Okay, let's start with the root, G. The upper neighbor tone is G sharp. The lower neighbor tone is G flat, and then G. So you can also enclose the root on the fourth string and the second string, third string, and of course if you go up an octave on the first string, you can enclose it an octave higher. All right, let's start the Bebop Dominant Scale with an enclosure. Since the target of the enclosure is G, the root, we can descend from there using the Bebop Dominant Scale and the first fingering position we learned way back in episode 1. Let's also enclose the G on the fourth string. All right, let's enclose the root on the second string, also using a position from episode 2, starting on the third, B, on the 9th fret. Now let's enclose G on the third string, 12th fret, also using a position from episode 2. So now let's look at the fifth, D. On the second string, we can enclose fifth easily. Third string, fourth string, first string. Now let's look at it within the Bebop Dominant Scale. As I said, if you enclose the root or the fifth, the scale retains its integrity. Check it out. Starting on the third, and starting on the fifth at the first string. Because enclosing the root and the fifth retains the symmetry of the Bebop Dominant Scale, you can combine them. Check it out. All right, so that's a good basic overview of enclosures. As you can see, they extend the scale. And they're great for filling in long lines of sound. And it can sound great double time too, like really fast. Most of the time, it also sounds best descending. Another great thing about it is it adds little bits of tension and release within the line. Stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to look at the flat 7 and the third. Especially the third has a lot of very interesting, very hyperchromatic rules that govern it. So as usual, there's tablature for this episode and the link in the description of the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep this going. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.